An inspiring life story is the account of a moment when an extraordinary person reveals the key that unlocked the door to their success. Among the many themes explored in these narratives are triumphs over adversity and the shattering of previously established boundaries. Not only can you as an individual motivate others to chase their dreams, but you can also provide them with the means they need to keep going strong once they reach their goals. Welcome to Deep Discussions, Poetic Expressions. Thank you so much for continuing to support our mission to transform adversity into opportunity. Thank you all who continue to show up, who hit the play button and listen to my podcast, who subscribe to my social media, who visit my website. All of those of you who continue to support my mission. I'm incredibly grateful and thankful for your support. I have a lot of things in the workings with different programs and initiatives that will be getting launched soon. So be on the lookout, and I look forward to hopefully in some way, shape, or form connecting with you all. I was called to share this message with you today based on my recent case of adversity. And every time I go through an adverse situation that really requires me to reflect on who I am, where I've been, and what I've been doing, I like to share it with you all and maybe meet you somewhere in your journey or in your circumstance where you're dealing with a certain battle of adversity that you feel maybe trying to speak to you and tell you something about yourself to help you grow out of a phase that you've been in, or get you out of a rut that maybe could be more mental than it is physical. So with that being said, we're going to dive in. And as I like to start these conversations off, I like to start with a poem. And this one is called, I haven't given it a title yet. I just wrote it. So, and that happens most times, right? When I come on here, I write a poem right before coming on and give you the opportunity to give me a title if you like to. But this poem I just wrote. So, am I a product or am I a victim? This ongoing fight shows up like a thief. Stealing my joy, problem is I let it. As if it's done much to which I'm indebted. It shows up in ways that the eyes won't fetch, nor in sounds that one's ear will not detect. It arrives bearing gifts, seeming like an incentive. Did you miss me, it says, sounding so vindictive. I wish it away, for on this day, this game I won't play. Many times I was left astray. Knowing what I know now, seeing the grass greener, I will still stay. Following it would be a misdemeanor. So I recently found myself being confronted confronted by God about this habit that I have that's not visible. It's not one of them habits that is like, oh, I keep eating sweets. Oh, I can't let go and put down, I can't put down a bad habit. I can't stop smoking or nothing like that. It's not a physical habit that a lot of people won't see. Mine is I won't stop looking at jobs. And it was a habit that was created off of me being discontent and dissatisfied with jobs prior to the one I have now. I love where I work now. The job I have now is great. And that's why God confronted me and said, so why you keep looking? Why do you keep clicking just because they show up in your inbox or your Gmail box or whatever? Why do you keep looking? And I had to ask myself and had to really reflect and do some deep diving about where I've been and where I'm at now and how I got here. So where I've been, prior to all of this, when this journey first started, the last job that I've had for more than 2 years was Travelers, and I left them in 2021. So I was there from 2015 to 2021. That's the last time I held a job for more than 2 years. So if I haven't held a job for more than 2 years since then, pretty much I left in 2021. So since 2021, I haven't held a job for more than 2 years. What does that say? That I have a bad habit of looking at and applying for jobs and looking to leave jobs, which does not bode well for the economy or for my journey in my career itself. Now, my generation, we do have this thing where we don't like to stay put at jobs in its entirety. And I'm not going to say that my journey is much different than anyone else's, but I will say for me, mine started when I left Travelers. I left because for, truly a better opportunity. I just happened to make more money along the way. A lot of people leave because they want more money or they want a position that was open and that was given to somebody else or something like that. Me, my first job when I left Travelers, I left because, obviously more money was definitely something that was in my view or in my sight, but I also wanted the opportunity to finally get into being, into risk management because I had aspired to do risk management for probably at that point in time about 13 years of my career. So it had already been in the workings for me. But it was once I left Travelers and went to the next company I worked for called One Main Financial. I got there, I got, probably the biggest pay increase that I've gotten in my entire career at that point. It might still be the biggest pay increase that I've gotten in my entire career. And I was excited, I was thrilled, I was, feeling good about myself until I met a manager that quickly dims your light. I dealt with some adversity there, dealt with some conflict, and some of you may have recalled me talking about it on previous episodes. This manager that I dealt with, and I was ready to leave. I was there for about 2 years. So that job I did hold for 2 years. I was there for 2 years, but I probably just made 2 years. So probably like maybe one month past 2 years, and so I was there, left because I didn't like the way management was handling me or my position. So I left, went to a competitor doing the same job, same role, everything, and went there, same situation. The only difference is the managers weren't, you know, the managers weren't volatile. They weren't like the same way as the manager I had before. They just weren't as involved, weren't as vigilant, and didn't really seem to value risk management. The other manager at One Main value risk management, but sometimes a little bit too much, where she made it sound like she knew every single thing there was to know, and you don't know squat. So me working those two jobs from basically 21 to 25 in a 4 year span, I left because I no longer wanted to be in lending anyway. Banking, lending, I no longer wanted to be in that space. I had spent, at that point in time, I spent about maybe 7 to 8 of my, at that point in time, 13 years in lending and banking, and 6 of them. So trying to make sure I got my numbers right. Put it this way. I was in lending, banking, and insurance. All of those I was in, and I was tired of being in them because I just don't like the way their practices are run with how they price people, and how sometimes I just feel like they steal money, basically. So I left, got out of that field, and now I'm in financial technology, and I love it. It's great. It's wonderful. I'm happy and thankful that God saw a way for me to get out of that space. But I find myself, you know, looking at jobs online still, even though I have everything I want here. I find myself sometimes being influenced by the economy that we're in. Always looking for that next dollar, always looking for that raise. When really money is not money is not something that I need to chase right now. You know, we all want more money at some point in some way, shape, or form. Don't get me wrong. But honestly, the things that I need, I already have.
And the funny thing about it too is when I left Travelers to go to One Main, I got about, I think it was like a $24,000 pay increase. So I left them, then went to regional where I then got another $20,000 pay increase just about. When I left regional and came to the job that I'm at now, I got a $10,000 pay increase. So when you look at the difference of, how pretty much where I left before, the two companies I left before to get to this one now, and the difference in pay, it says a lot to one, how bad I wanted to get out of lending, and two, how bad I wanted to be in a place where, I felt the culture and the environment was different. And just meeting with them when I had my interviews, it felt that way. So God did all of that for me. God managed to find a way to get me out of that space and into this space and introduce me to, what it really feels like to have a rewarding position where work-life balance matters, where workplace culture is important, and where you feel valued in your role. I have all of that, but I still find myself falling down this rabbit hole of looking at opportunities when they hit my inbox from LinkedIn. And usually what I would do is uninstall the app that keeps trying to feed me these things. I can't do that with LinkedIn because one, I still want to stay tapped into the markets that I'm working in, both with my career and with deep discussion, but also because it's important to still, have that social connection. And instead of fleeing from the bad habit, I need to free myself of it. Instead of running away from your issues or trying to hide your issues, you need to confront them. Kind of like the whole enemies of growth thing that I talk to people about. There's 4 enemies of growth. And you may have heard me share this before, but those 4 enemies are worry, doubt, complacency, and arrogance. And I in some way, shape, or form have come in to, have had encounters with all of them. And for me in this space, it's a little bit of arrogance and it's a little bit of worry. The worry part is more so about finances. I'm worried that I'm not going to have enough money to take care of the things that I need to take care of. Mind you, I've been able to. I just haven't had enough money to take care of the things for me that I want to take care of, but my needs are taken care of. So that's one thing that God confronted me on and said, you keep wanting more money just so you can go buy yourself more things. Haven't I given you what you needed? Then the other thing too is I have to free myself of this mindset of feeling like where I work determines my value. How much I make determines my value. I have a lot going for me from a professional and personal standpoint. I'm thriving in my job. I feel important. I feel valued, connected, all of that stuff. Where I'm at now with my business, I've got all of the flexibility to grow my programming. I just became a nonprofit because of the time that I was able to devote to building out this business. What more can I ask for? I've asked God for these things. And the funny thing is too, like, I know some people would pray this. Me personally, I don't. When I pray to God about like wanting a new job or wanting a new opportunity, I don't necessarily put in my prayer, I want more money or I want a bigger pay raise. I specifically say, I want the opportunity to feel valued. I want to be an expert in my role. I want to be, a part of, making critical decisions, all of that stuff. And I say all of that stuff sometimes to hide the desire of wanting more money. But God knows what I want ultimately. And although he knows I want those things too. I do truly and genuinely, or have truly and genuinely wanted those things. I have those things now. But I spoke those things to God and actually, communicated those and have been given those with where I'm at now. The money thing, I don't really like specifically express or communicate that. I just assume that's coming with everything else that I requested. But, more money did come. I didn't get the same kind of pay raise that I was expecting based on history. I did ask for a $20,000 bump in pay from my last job. I ended up getting 10, but I got a better workplace culture. I got a flexible pay or flexible work-life balance. And I have a wonderful staff, a team that I'm on. So with all of that and me being out of banking and lending, that to me matches that extra $10,000 that I would have wanted. Because if you had told me, the funny thing is why I mentioned that, at the same time when I was interviewing for the job that I have now, I was in the process of interviewing for 2 other jobs. And this was, mind just crazy. This was exactly a year ago from today. I had an interview with this job that I'm at now. I had an interview with Care First, and I interviewed with a local bank, or it might have been a bank in Washington, D.C. And even though I told God I no longer wanted to be in banking, he, gave me the opportunity to interview with this company because I wanted to get out of the space that I was in so bad that I was like, well, maybe if I look at like a credit union or more of a community-based bank, it'll change my thought process on how I see the banking and lending industry. And I interviewed with them, but the problem with them was they were in DC and required me to be in office 3 days a week, which I wasn't willing to really do. I wouldn't have left my last job to go into DC 3 days a week. And I think they might have been willing to pay me, but they probably would have been willing to pay me $20,000 more than what I make now or what I made at my last job. But how often would I really get to enjoy that $20,000 if I'm traveling back and forth to DC 3 days a week? And the mental and emotional, what's the word I'm thinking of? The mental and emotional expense that you pay for these things, can sometimes equate to the actual, monetary expense that you pay for things too. So essentially, I gave up the desire or the $10,000 that I was looking for extra to have a flexible work pay or work schedule and a better work-life balance. And to me, that was worth $10,000. But we don't look at things like that. And I think that, me hitting this wall where I find myself looking at these jobs as they keep popping up in my inbox because they have this price tag attached to it. I'm always looking at the job description and then quickly scrolling down. And when I see requires 10 to 20% travel, but they're paying you $20,000 more than what you, or $25,000 more than what I make now, I'm like, but it wants me to travel up to 20%. And I'm not willing to do that. So I find myself still going back and looking at them again sometimes because, an expense came up, a bill increase, cost of gas is going up. So I'm ready to look at that job again and go back and be like, $30,000 sound real good right now, but it's not worth the flexibility that I have. So God has a way of showing us how to better appreciate the things that he gives us and reminds us of what we ask for and say, didn't you ask for this? Didn't you tell me you wanted this? And I gave it to you. And now you're telling me you want this too? What more do you want from me? That's what I feel like God said to me. I don't know how God communicates with you all, but that's how he communicated to me with this. And I felt real convicted and called out, as I should have been. So now we're going to read his word. And this comes from 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 9 through 10. Those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap, and into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money, for the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people eager for money have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. Even though it says for the love of money, I also equate not just money, not only just to money, but it also really to things of the flesh. Like money is the operative word here, and the one that a lot of, if not everyone, can relate to. But there are other things that we attach greed to, that we sometimes allows to draw us away from things, whether that be power. That's a big one. Whether that be, recognition, whether that be, accessibility to certain things. Like there are certain things other than money that sometimes will drive people away from one space to another, when that one space probably was more feasible and more beneficial to what they have going on. God told me, I'm up here, I keep chasing money. And it's like, he's like, you got this good thing going for you. You sure you want to leave all of this to go make, an additional X amount of dollars? And, with seeing how, and it's funny too, because I also said to God, I told God there were like three things that I wanted. I wanted to be able to grow my business. I wanted to be able to better, be in a better workplace where the work culture was going to be better, and I was going to be working with better people. And I wanted to get out of banking and banking and lending. I got all of those and some. I work with much better people. I'm not in banking and lending anymore, and I've seen my business grow. I got those three things that I asked him for. And then I got two additional things with flexible PTO, even though I had that at my last job, but I still got that again. How many people can say they found that at two jobs? So I got that in back-to-back jobs. And outside of the flexible PTO, I also got the flexible job in general, because my manager has said to me, look, if if you got things that come up and things that's going on, you're not obligated to be at your computer all day. That's why we have flexible work. That's why you can, if something comes up that you got to go to at 2:30 and you got to be there from 2:30 to 3:30, and then you come back and you don't get back on the clock till 4:30, 5 o'clock and work the rest of the day, as long as the work get done. I could even take my computer and a pad folio with me, go to another site if I need to be present somewhere, and still have my work with me, and still say, while I was still on the clock, I still was able to show up for this meeting or take care of this task while I was taking care of something else. So God really has a way of humbling us and showing us our flaws and where we can be better as individuals and as servants in his kingdom. So thank you, as always, for your support of Deep Discussion. Again, I have a lot of things in the works that will be released and coming out soon. Please stay tuned. Visit deepdiscussion.org to learn more about all of our programming. We did just release our first scholarship back in March. So it's now available. The link to it is on my website, deepdiscussion.org. If you want to get connected, want to talk about how you can get involved in our programming, visit my website, and you can submit a form at the bottom, or you can email me directly at thriveforward at deepdiscussion.org, or you can contact me via phone 443-744-5406. And for today's message, do not flee the bad habit, free it. Confront it, ask why does it keep showing up. Remain inquisitive and always stay curious about what life has to offer you, and go through your experiences trying to find that lesson that is trying to teach you to make you stronger and more resilient. Take care, keep God first, and God bless.